How's it going, my friends? Back with another video today. Yes, 2 videos back to back. Made one yesterday and I really enjoyed it. This one is basically tail end off that other one. I woke up this morning, I was sitting out in my backyard drinking some coffee, and I was thinking about the thing that's helped me the most over my last 10 years of photography. I was thinking about, my career, when I started, just, generally being grateful and thinking of something that I could pass on to you guys as the most important thing that I've learned over the last 10 years. Before I get into that, I want to say thank you to the new patron. We have Chad Champo. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the donation through Patreon. So, what is the one thing that's helped me the most over this past 10 years? The thing that's taken me pretty much the longest to develop, but it's been the most rewarding and has bared the most fruit in my photography career. That is one thing: the power of observation. Okay? I'm going to go through and give you guys 3 areas. I've narrowed this down to 3 areas and 3 actionable areas that I can give to you guys to really help you develop this. Because, just to back up, what is photography? Photography is nothing more than the art of seeing. Okay? It's the art of seeing things. Your observation is different from my observation. The way that we observe the world around us is different for every single person, and that's why I go into so many videos and say, you do not try and develop a style. You just shoot what you feel internally. The things that you're drawn to, you shoot those, and you're going to develop your own sense of style, because everybody has a unique observation of the world. We all see things differently. So there's a lot of people who want to jump into trends or things that they see that are popular and try and emulate that stuff. It never leads to a serious body of work that's really different from everybody else and something you can be very super proud of, because it's all based off you trying to basically copy somebody else's vision. There's definitely times where you bring other people's inspiration into your work. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody's direct observation on the world and trying to emulate that fully and bring that into your own work and just base everything off that. What I'm talking about is developing your own sense of the way that you observe and making the camera an extension of your body and capturing that. So your mind through your camera into the world and vice versa. It's like a line, a direct line in and out. You're going from your mind right through the camera to the outside world, and then taking the outside world and bringing it back into your mind through the camera and putting it out there for everybody to see with your own stamp on it. The power of observation is the most important power that you have in photography. It's going to set you up to make work that's different from everybody else, make work that you can actually be proud of, make work that people are going to look at and see something real and authentic. And that's where, that's why, I was talking about does image quality even really matter anymore with photography? No, to a certain point back, like maybe 15 years ago, but now all these cameras are so good, now the only thing that matters that's going to separate you from everybody else. Everybody can take a sharp, clean image, clean image at low light, all that stuff. All the cameras can do that. But nobody can emulate a photo that has a real piece of truth in it from somebody's direct observation of the scene that they were seeing. Now, observation is really everything, and it's the thing that's going to take you the longest, but the thing that's going to give you the most reward at the end. And that's how isn't that how it is with everything in life? Nothing that's easy, that comes to you easy, is ever really worth anything. Nothing that comes to you easy is ever going to establish something strong or like give you a solid foundation or make you have something that's just, that you can have your signature on. It's going to last. Everything that comes easy is pretty much trash. And so this technique, developing your eye of observation and the way that you see things, see the world, is the number one. That's the thing that everybody should focus on from the beginning. And honestly, I don't know why. I just kind of recognize that. Ever since I picked up a camera, I recognize that, hey, I need to develop the way I see the world and translate that into images. And so what I need to do is start breaking things down and dissecting things. And so that's my first point here, and the first actionable step is analyze everything. Analyze everything. That's what I did in the beginning. And I can tell you that that was the first step into really taking me off and like bringing me into another level. And not only that, it made me interested in the world in a different way. So if you look at something, you could basically, one exercise I used to do is I used to take my camera and I used to just walk around my backyard. Okay, it was only like a half an acre. It wasn't a big yard, but I had some trees and some greenery and stuff like that. And I would try and analyze everything I was looking at. Not even just taking a picture right off the bat. I would just take a walk and just look at the blades of grass. Look at the way that the light was hitting it, at what angle. Look at the texture. Look at the reflections. Look at it very closely and see what the background was. Look at the colors. Look at the way that it moved when wind went through it, whatever it was, grass, trees, leaves, whatever. Getting into the habit of seriously dissecting the things that you're looking at and wondering what makes them different, what makes them unique, what makes them beautiful. Because that's ultimately what we're looking for. We're looking for beauty. Truth is beauty. Translates through everything if you see it right. And you can start to break down little things from your world, little pieces of things that go together, and just look at the breakdown. What is it? How's this shape? How does it, look when I hold it up to this light over here in this shadow? Analyze what makes things beautiful. People's faces, the way that they move. A lot of times when Sarah and I go into an engagement shoot or something like that, when we get to know our couples in shooting, we just have them, we do not hit them with poses. Sometimes we do once it's towards the end and they're comfortable, but in the beginning, we just have them, we have all these prompts that we have them interact with each other, and we observe. And we analyze what their body language looks like together and break it down and intently focus, hyper focus on the things that you want to photograph, and I promise you, something will be revealed to you. So analyze everything you're shooting, down to the texture, down to the shape, down to the color, the look, the placement, the way it interacts with its environment. And you will start to see things that depend, there's systems. If we're going back to a blade of grass, there's things that are connected to it. So the grass is connected to the ground. The sunlight is hitting it. The wind is interacting with it. That might sound like, woo-woo or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is an object is not just an object. There's other things that are interconnected with it. And if you can start to see pieces of a bigger puzzle, you can start to analyze the differences that make things unique. It's a really, really high-level concept in photography, but I promise you, if you start to look and analyze every little thing, you'll start to see interest, and you'll start to see things that make it unique, and then you'll start to see creative ways that you can photograph it, and new opportunities and ideas for photos will open up to you. That's number one. Number two is shoot multiple perspectives. I cannot stress this enough, and I think I talked about this briefly in one of my other videos. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Shooting multiple perspectives. So if you're shooting people, that's what you want to get into, and you're trying to develop your observation, your creative eye, shoot one straight on, shoot one low, shoot one high, shoot one from the side. That's what I used to do. When we first started shooting people, I was still developing my sense of observation, making the observation kind of like a subconscious thing. At first, it's in that analytical part of your brain where you're actually having to remember like techniques that you want to do. But then it becomes an internal, just subconscious, where you just know where to shoot. Your observation is there because you've shot a million things. You've developed that subconscious, which is kind of just moving the camera, and you're going towards the areas that you know are going to be interesting. But in the beginning, you need to find out what that is. So you never ever just shoot one photo from one angle. You always switch it up. And then when you go back to your portfolio and the pictures you shot for the day, you can see, okay, this looked really, really good. When I shot low, look at that. With those two people, they're coming in together, kissing, or they're running by hand in hand, and I was low and I was shooting up. It's a different perspective. It changes the photograph. You stand up on something high. Like a couple of weeks ago before this whole lockdown thing started, we had an engagement shoot in a park, and we were shooting the couple, they were interacting, and there was a really, huge, there was like a tall table on top of like a hill, and I had them come up like under, and I stood on top of the table, and they got some higher perspective shots. And they came out really cool. Low, high, in between, moving this, having this, obviously the sun is in a certain spot when you're shooting, moving around in relation to where that sun is shining. You're getting multiple perspectives and multiple angles, and then going back and seeing your photos, seeing what looked good, then you can start to emulate that more and being like, I know that this looks good, I want to try that again. And little by little, your perspective will start to improve and it'll start to get more focused and more in that, everything that we do here with perspective and your observation, the goal is to set that in your subconscious mind. Your observation never ever comes without intent practice, and not even just practice, but intent. Like, I want to see what makes that beautiful. I want to see what makes that grip you and pull you in. That stuff only comes with a serious practice. And then implanting that in the subconscious is the most important thing. So number one, analyze everything. If you're going to shoot something, no matter what it is, even if you're not shooting, just walk around and start to notice little nuances and little differences and little things that make everything that you're looking at unique, because everything, and I don't want to sound like a hippie here, but seriously, everything, especially in nature, has its own energy, its own spirit, if you will. There's something that makes it different, and there's other things that depend on it around, so you can start to analyze it and break it down what it is. That's number one. Number two, shoot multiple perspectives. Every time you're shooting something, shoot it from a bunch of different angles. Look at your work after, you'll start to see what looks good and what looks kind of like crap and is boring. Number three, the last one, is assess your locations. This is super important also, and I did touch on this, I think, in the beginning of my channel. One thing that's huge for me is before we go to a location to shoot, I always try, it doesn't always happen, but I always try to assess that location. Go there by myself, walk around, either do it before or show up, maybe either like do it a couple days before or show up a couple hours before or an hour before the wedding or the shoot. Walk that location. Don't even go with your camera or, just like, don't even go taking photos. Leave the camera in the car. Just go by yourself, walk around this location that you're going to be, creating in, and look at what's around you. Assess where the light's coming from, where the strips are coming through the trees or wherever you have. Look at everything intently and picture putting people in those scenes and how you would manipulate it to make a photo that's interesting. I can't stress this enough, that photography is just the art of seeing. And if you can make that art of seeing a truthful perspective where you're not trying to copy somebody else's work or bring something into the mix that you didn't like, it's all organic, it's just coming from you. A true sense of that observation is what makes a good photograph. When people are immersed in the scene, they're really creating from the heart, and that only comes from preparing yourself and practicing these three techniques. If you have other ones, you can add them. But for me, these three techniques, practicing them until they were in my subconscious. That is the only way that you're going to be a photographer that's really blowing people away and blowing yourself away with what you can accomplish and create. This goes into the video I made yesterday with image quality and, camera companies really just wanting to sell you, all these new features. But they'll never be able to sell you the thing that really matters, which is your observation and developing that. It's like a muscle, and it never ever comes quickly. Photography, if you want to separate yourself and become a photographer that's actually going out there and like making cutting edge stuff or stuff that you can be proud of, it all comes down to practicing your observation and giving that to the world, because like I said, it's yours is different from mine, and there's 7.5 billion people in the world. Believe it or not, they all see the world a different way. Nobody sees the world. It's just like everybody's face. Everybody looks different. Everybody has a different perspective. So that's your gift. So if you can develop your eye and the way you see things, I'm telling you, it will add to a whole new level of your photography. And now is the time to do it, because now we're stuck in certain places. We're forced to become more familiar with our surroundings. We see it all the time. And it's very easy just to kind of glance over everything and just give it a once over, and it's, it all looks the same, I've seen it before. But I promise you, if you go back and really analyze these things, and really analyze, focus in on them, you will start to see things in a different way. Practice these three techniques, guys. Promise it'll help. Analyze everything, shoot multiple perspectives, and assess your locations. Will make you a better photographer. Hopefully this helps, guys. Give me some feedback in the comments, and I hope you guys are shooting and having a great day.